There's a specific kind of anxiety that happens in your chest the moment you realize you need to say something difficult. Not anger, not sadness, a cold, tight feeling that comes with knowing the words will change things, that saying them out loud makes them real in a way they weren't when you just thought them. So you don't say them, you swallow them. And in that split-second decision, something invisible happens. You choose silence over being heard. If you've spent your 20s getting better and better at this, at managing what you say, at keeping the peace, at disappearing your own needs, this video is for you. Conflict avoidance isn't laziness. It's not cowardice, even though it feels like it from the inside. It's a survival mechanism that worked really well at one point in your life. Maybe your house was volatile growing up. Maybe loud voices meant danger. Maybe you learned early that your needs made things worse, not better. Or maybe you just lived in a family where difficult emotions were treated like problems to be solved, not feelings to be processed. Your nervous system learned. Speaking up equals threat, so it created a pattern. When tension rises, your body activates an ancient script. Freeze, stay quiet, don't rock the boat, make yourself smaller. The technical term is conflict avoidance, but what it actually feels like is this. You're in a conversation and something needs to be said, and you know it, and they probably know it, but you both sit in the discomfort together anyway. Here's what's wild. This mechanism works. In the short term, you avoid the conflict. Nobody yells, nothing explodes. You get to go to bed without the sound of a difficult conversation still echoing in your head. The cost gets paid later, but it gets paid. Over time, avoidance becomes a lifestyle. You're not just quiet about big things anymore. You're quiet about small things. Your friend cancels on you for the third time and you smile and say, "It's fine." Your partner makes a comment that stings and you pretend you didn't hear it. At work, you sit in meetings knowing something's wrong with the project plan, but you don't speak up. You've gotten so good at staying silent that speaking up now feels impossible. Not because it's actually impossible, but because your nervous system has been rewired to treat it like it is. And this is where it gets dangerous. When you consistently avoid expressing yourself, three specific things happen simultaneously. First, you start believing your thoughts and feelings aren't worth saying. You do this unconsciously. Consciously, you know your perspective matters, but every time you stay silent when you should speak, you're sending a message to yourself. My voice doesn't matter enough to risk this. Repeat that enough times and it becomes your identity. You become the person who doesn't speak up, the person who goes along, the person who's easy to be around because you've made yourself small enough not to cause friction. Psychologists call this self-concept erosion. You literally start to believe you're less important than keeping the peace. And here's the sinister part. Because you believe it, other people start to believe it too. Second, you develop something called cognitive dissonance. This is the psychological tension you feel when what you believe and what you do don't match up. You believe you should speak up. You believe you deserve to be heard. You believe your needs matter, but you don't act like it. So your mind gets caught between two realities, and it causes a specific kind of exhaustion. Not the tiredness that comes from work, but the exhaustion that comes from performing a version of yourself that isn't actually you. Over time, this gap gets wider. The distance between who you are and who you're pretending to be becomes a chasm, and living in that chasm is one of the most isolating places a human can be. Third, the tensions you avoid don't disappear. They calcify. You know this. You've felt it. The text message you didn't send still bothers you 3 weeks later. The conversation you should have had is still making things weird between you. The feedback you didn't give is now affecting your team. The boundary you didn't set is now being violated again. Unresolved conflict doesn't evaporate. It crystallizes. It becomes passive-aggressive comments, sudden anger at small things, emotional distance, a persistent low-level resentment that you can't quite name. And the really damaging part? Your relationships suffer from it, but nobody talks about why, because the avoidance was supposed to protect them. Here's what's changed in the last decade. Remote work removed the natural forcing function of physical proximity. In an office, conflict happens in real time and you have to deal with it. Working from home, you can avoid it indefinitely. You can type and retype an email 17 times before sending it. You can leave a Slack message on read. You can schedule the "we need to talk" call and then cancel it twice. Social media taught us that there's an audience for every interaction. Every difficult conversation now feels like it's being watched, so the stakes feel higher. The risk of saying the wrong thing feels bigger, and more people are choosing silence. Cultural diversity, which is genuinely beautiful and necessary, also means that you're constantly navigating different communication styles. What's directness in one culture is rudeness in another. What's honesty in one social group is aggression in another. So instead of learning how to navigate that complexity, a lot of people just opt out. They go quiet. And here's the part that keeps me up at night. Research on young adults shows that avoidance behavior is increasing, not decreasing, not staying stable, increasing. More people are walking away from situations that actually matter to them, friendships, opportunities, conversations, just to avoid discomfort. Avoidance is now socially acceptable in a way it wasn't before. "I don't want drama" has become a virtue signal. And quietly, we're all becoming more and more isolated in our own unspoken truths. Now here's where this could feel like a motivational speech, like I'm about to tell you to just speak up, to be brave, to find your voice, to stop caring what people think. I'm not, because that's not actually how psychological change works. What actually works is understanding what you're afraid of. When you avoid expression, you're not avoiding the conversation, you're avoiding a specific fear, usually one of these. You're afraid the other person will leave, or get angry, or confirm what you secretly believe about yourself, that you're too much, too demanding, too sensitive, or that you'll lose control and say something you can't take back, or that the conflict will be bigger than you can handle. Those fears are real, they're not silly. They're not something you should just get over. But here's the thing, they're usually bigger in your mind than they would be in reality. Expression doesn't mean aggression. It doesn't mean saying everything that's on your mind without a filter. It means communicating what's true for you in a way that invites understanding instead of defensiveness. It could sound like, "I need to tell you something and I'm nervous about it because," or you could say, "When you do this, it makes me feel," or say, "I disagree with this, and here's why I think it matters." It all sounds like actually naming what's happening instead of pretending it isn't. And yes, sometimes people get defensive. Sometimes it does change the relationship. But avoidance doesn't prevent that. It just delays it while you suffer in the space between. The paradox is this. Expressing yourself is the thing that actually protects your relationships, not ruins them. Because a relationship that can't survive honesty isn't a real relationship, it's a performance. If you've spent years perfecting the art of silence, you can't just flip a switch. This isn't about willpower, it's about rewiring your nervous system. Start small, not with the big conversations. Start with the tiny moments where you usually disappear yourself. The moment your partner says something that bothers you. The moment a friend reschedules again. The moment you know something's not right but you smile anyway. In that moment, pause. Don't say anything yet, just recognize it. Name the pattern. Recognize that you're prone to stay silent when you shouldn't. Then, and this is important, start small, not with a confrontation, just with honesty. "Hey, I'm actually not fine with that. I have a thought about this. I need to be honest with you about something." These are practice sentences. They're not dramatic, they're not aggressive, they're just true. And the nervous system is remarkable. Every time you speak something true and the world doesn't end, your body learns something new. It learns that expression isn't dangerous. It learns that being heard matters more than being comfortable. It's slow. It's not a 30-day challenge. It's a reorientation of your entire nervous system, but it's possible. Because here's what I know. The version of you that's hiding inside is infinitely more interesting than the version that's trying to disappear. The version with opinions, with needs, with things to say. That version is worth the discomfort of being heard. If this video landed for you, if you felt the recognition of spending so much energy on what not to say that you forgot how to say anything at all, you're not broken. You're navigating a real psychological pattern that most of your generation has learned. And if you're ready to rewire it, the first step is exactly what you just did. You watched something that named it. That's the beginning. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.